Hey everyone, welcome back. So today we're going to be reviewing Super Punch for the Nintendo Switch. Now since these eSHOP game reviews is going to be new content for the channel, I really want to hear all your comments on it, and also to show your support if you want to see more by liking the video and subscribing if you aren't already. So Super Punch is an ultra budget title for the Nintendo Switch. It just released recently for $1.99. And when I took a look at the eShop page for this game, the general concept seemed interesting enough to drop the $2 to see if this game actually has, anything special to offer. Basically, from the screenshots, it looked like a top-down stick fighter, and the graphics looked retro but fairly clear, and if they came up with a couple of really interesting gaming concepts, I meant this game for $2 could be a really fun party game. Now the basic gameplay of the game is very simple. You use the left joystick to move your fighter around, the Y button is your left punch, and the A button is your right punch. However, what they also really did in an odd fashion is that the B button is the pause button, and if you hit it twice in succession, it actually cancels the match, which is a really odd choice of button placement to begin with for this game. The only additional mechanic that this game actually has is that you do have a super bar that charges as you make successful hits against your opponent. But basically, that's where these gameplay mechanics stop. And that is the major problem with Super Punch. Yes, it's an ultra budget title, but it is way too simplistic. So basically, even for $2, honestly, after playing one or two matches of the game, you realize that this game doesn't have much to offer. And the problems with its mechanics, being that your super bar only charges when you're landing hits against your opponent, is that it basically becomes a win more mechanic. Basically, whoever's leading the match is just going to lead the match even quicker. So unfortunately, the mechanics are sort of broken, and it doesn't actually make it for a very fun party game because the mechanics are too simple, and if you fall behind, there is very few things you can do to actually catch up to your adversary. And unfortunately, the weaknesses don't only end there. When on the eShop page for this game, they announced that you can choose between 6 different fighters. The problem is that they are solely skins for your fighters. The only thing that it changes when you switch fighters is the skin of the fighter in the arena and the little image you have at the top of the screen that identifies your fighter. But other than that, there are no gameplay advantages for choosing one character over another. No one's quicker, no one has harder punches, no one has more stamina, no one has any other gameplay differences other than simple skins over the characters. The game also offers 2 different modes, either 1-player mode or 2-player mode, but there's no story or campaign or any progression in the game, other than a very simple leaderboard that for the moment isn't even online. So basically, once you're done your match, you get sent back to the start menu of the game and you can start another match. But there's no progression, there's no difficulty setting, there's no way to get tougher opponents. So basically, once you get the basic stick and jab mechanic down and you know how you can catch the computer off guard, well, basically the matches just become unfortunately boring. Now the developers did add one extra little function to the game, which is that as the matches get longer and longer, the crowd gets rowdier and starts tossing objects across the screen, like beer cans or chairs. And if you can maneuver your opponent into the path of these objects, well, he'll get hit just like you landed a punch. And basically, although it can maybe add a tiny bit of variety to the 2-player version of this game, it makes the game really broken once you catch on how the computer is basically going to move, because you can basically abuse this mechanic to make sure the computer gets pretty much hit by each and every object that's tossed his way. So unfortunately, even though this is an ultra budget title at $1.99, the reason I'm being so rough with it is that at $1.99 on the eShop, there are actually options out there of full-blown games that are actually fun to play. The problem with Super Punch is that after 10 minutes and basically playing 1 or 2 rounds, the game has nothing left to offer. It's just too simplistic. And it's just too bad because the basic concept of the game could be very fun. And the developer could have done some very minor tweaks to actually make this game a hidden party gem. So just to name a few tiny things that they actually could have added to this game to make it a worthwhile purchase at $2 would be simply, for one, a difference between each character. Different stats, one is quicker, one hits harder, and so forth. A different finisher move perhaps for each character. Because basically right now, once your super meter charges, everyone has the same overall advantage. Your punches come out quicker, and your attack range basically doubles. But there is no difference between one character to the other. So having that super meter charge and give a different finisher to each character, or at least a graphically different finisher to each character, would have been a decent start. Also, implementing a mechanic that does help the person behind not feel like it's just a win more game, such as your super meter charging, albeit maybe at half the speed of the person who's landing the punches when you actually get hit. Pretty much every fighting game out there implements this type of system, whether it be Dragon Ball Z Fighters or any of the normal fighting games. Your super meter also charges when you're taking damage, not only when you're landing hits. And the last thing they could have simply offered was some type of progression in the game, like a story or campaign mode. You don't actually need a story behind, but just like normal Punch-Out, you start with easier opponents and you work your way towards harder opponents, albeit just maybe the computer AI getting smarter. Basically, there is just very little to offer this game, and there's way better ways to spend $2 on the eShop than on Super Punch. Basically, the gameplay you've been seeing since the start of this review is the full game. This game, what you're seeing right now, is pretty much the full game and everything it has to offer. So now for my final verdict on this game. By the way, I will not be giving out number scores in these reviews. Rather, we will be going with general statements that will explain to you pretty much where I stand on this game. And if you want to see a complete list of all the statements, and because I'll be reusing these same ones for each game, they'll always be in the description comments of the video. So you can go down there and see where it is on the scale. But this game is going to be rated as a definite pass. Basically, games in this rating pure and simply mean put your money elsewhere. So although we didn't start out with a hidden gem of a game, I hope you all like this new budget eShop game reviews. I plan on integrating at least one video a week like this. So if you do like it, as I said earlier, please show your support by liking the video and subscribing if you aren't already. Don't forget to activate the notification bell. And as usual, I hope I'll see all of you in my next video.